break down what we're about to discuss right about now. And I first of all start with, from my left, from my far left, I have sitting right there, very important person in this discussion, and he's the CEO of the Independent Electoral Commission, Mr. Sambujang Jai. You're welcome to this discussion, Mr. Jai. A round of applause for him, please. And please, once I introduce my guests, I need you to give them a round of applause. So it's also part of energizing the process. And right after Mr. Njai, we have, of course, on my immediate left, Madam Fatou Jane Senghor, who is the Regional Director of Article 19 West Africa, and of course, my chairperson, the board of directors for the Gambia Radio and Television Services. I am super proud of her, and she's a woman as well. So dynamic and, you know, very much out there and making sure that everything goes accordingly, and everything that she is doing has been manifesting already. So a round of applause for her once again. And I'm sorry, I'm not being biased though, so please. And here with me, I have Mr. Badu Gay. He is the head of IT at the MRC. A round of applause for Mr. Badu Gay as well. We had to pull him at the last minute to come on board. As you can notice, we had some people who were supposed to join this panel, but unfortunately, people always have things coming up here and there. And as Gambians, we're always good at improvising, so this is all part of that. And last but not least, we have the very Mr. James Bahu. A round of applause for Mr. James Bahu. He is also from the MSDG, most of you know, Migration and Sustainable Development Goal Project, and we're very much glad for having you here at the last minute as well. A round of applause. Thank you so much. So like I said, we are going to be talking about the practicalities of diaspora voting. I'm pretty much happy that we are not in fact talking about now the role of the diaspora in our development process, because it's evident what the diaspora is doing. And I'm pretty sure since morning, this is what you've been discussing here. I wasn't here in the morning, but I'm quite sure that it has been really very much being buttressed on how much that the diaspora is contributing into our country. And so they've become an inexhaustible force in strengthening our democracy and contributing immensely to boosting our GDP and, you know, contributing to the economy. And they've been also involved in various sectors, from health and recently, in fact, tourism. And not long, GT Board signed an MOU with the Diaspora Club of the Gambia. So they're very much involved in every facet, in every sector in this country. I'm pretty sure they're also looking at other ways to increase those interventions as well. So now we're not, in fact, talking about their contribution they're doing. We're talking about how can they be involved in effective decision-making processes. We're not saying whether or not diaspora should take part in elections, whether or not they should vote, because this is something that has been provided for in the 1997 Constitution. And if I should just quote section, I have the section here just to be correct, section 39 of the 1997 Constitution that says that every Gambian should vote irrespective of residency in the Gambia, and they should take part in presidential and parliamentary elections. So why wasn't that happening before now is a question most of you know the answer to, because obviously, apparently, Jammeh knows that the diaspora is not in favor of him, and most people obviously traveled because of the situation here in the Gambia back then. So, but now is the time to, in fact, talk about this. There cannot be any better time than now. So whether or not they're going to be voting, that is not what you're going to be talking about. We're talking about now. What is in place? How can this voting process be facilitated? You have countries that the diaspora constitute almost half of their populations, and it's to say that they're also part of that country. They're citizens of the country, and so their role cannot be overlooked. And you have countries, obviously, that are giving their diaspora that opportunity to take part in their elections, so why not the Gambia? So to start with, of course, we have the representative from the Independent Electoral Commission, and I must say, I'm pretty sure he's ready for this discussion, because I do not know if the IEC is really ready for Diaspora to take part in the 2021 election, because that is already here, but I'm pretty sure that this is something you would also like to answer, and I would like us to talk about what is it that's there at the moment? What are the possibilities that we're looking at? And do we have specific criteria that would also be considering as regards to how the diaspora would be voting? What structures are we looking at? What are the possible mechanisms that we can navigate to make sure that the process of diaspora voting is indeed fair and free? You have other countries like, Irish, British, that of course do not in fact vote in Irish elections, but most people were asked whether or not, most expatriates were asked whether or not they wanted to vote, and some majority almost said they wanted to vote in their country's elections, but some did not want to because they feel that it wouldn't make any sense for them to vote based on the realities on ground in their various countries. Most people do not feel that, in fact, their vote would in any way count, or whether or not the voting that the vote they cast would, in fact, the process would be free or fair. So how are we making sure that what we're about to discuss, this process that we're about to take, will indeed be free and fair? And what procedures, how would this be conducted? I'm sorry if this is a little bit convoluted, but I hope that your answer would capture everything that I'm trying to say in about 5 minutes.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Madam Moderator. And good afternoon, distinguished and erudite panelists, and ladies and gentlemen. First of all, please allow me to thank GK Partners and the MSDGP project for hosting this important occasion, as well as inviting the Independent Electoral Commission to share its programs and activities with the diaspora present here and abroad. Your question is very important. But before I go into that, I just want to make this statement that that is the practicalities of diaspora voting is practical, is feasible, and is constitutionally guaranteed. Therefore, it must be conducted. It must be conducted. And the topic is very apt and appropriate at this moment in our electoral process. Having taken note of that by the Independent Electoral Commission, immediately after the democratic change of leadership, the IEC went into action. First, by organizing regional consultation, where thematic areas were discussed with the grassroots people, including women, civil society, youth, PWDs, local authorities. And one of the key areas that was discussed and opinion were sought was that will the diaspora vote? Should they vote? And generally, all over, from Kairaba back to Banjul, everyone accepted this. And this was also validated at the national workshop held here in the Greater Banjul area. And it's part of our recommendation also to the CRC to be included in the draft constitution that will be voted at a referendum. So you can see the IEC has already set the space, has already set everything into motion. Again, the IEC did not stop at that level.
I've been told you raise your volume so that those in the back can hear you.
Okay, again, IEC did not stop at that level. The IEC has conducted some study tours and are still conducting study tours. A study tour was conducted at the Republic of Cape Verde. People wonder why Cape Verde, a Portuguese colony and a Portuguese-speaking country. But we have a reason for that. Because Cape Verde is one of the countries where they have more diaspora in the abroad than in Cape Verde. The voters in Cape Verde, more of them are in the diaspora than the voters in Cape Verde itself. So then it's a good place to go and learn the best practices of diaspora voting. And again, we are thinking of also going to Sierra Leone, the Republic of Sierra Leone, for another study tour. Because as you know, diaspora voting cannot involve the use of ballot drums or tokens. Therefore, there is this need to migrate, like we have been calling for and yearning for, that we are migrating from the ballot drum to the ballot paper. So, and Sierra Leone happens to be a country that was using ballot drum and migrated to ballot paper. Mm-hmm. We want to go there and learn from them what they have done that they want us to do, what they have done that they don't want us to do, what they have done that they want us when we are doing, we should improve.
And before I move on,
yes,
yes.
maybe I have some few issues to discuss.
Go on. Yes.
And again, we have also had a technical workshop with GK partners to look at the mechanics of diaspora voting. So, in nutshell, let me just announce that the IEC will be conducting registration of voters, general registration of voters for all Gambians, irrespective of wherever they are in the globe. However,
okay.
However, it's going to be in phases. Phase 1 will be done this year, probably in April, May, for Gambians in Gambia, and phase 2 will be in 2021 for the diaspora. But of course, this will not go without some issues. The issues we are having now is the data. How many Gambians are living abroad? Because when you look at the literature, the UNDP is saying 90,000, another document is saying 140,000, someone else is saying something like 200,000. And we have to know how many Gambians are abroad and where they are. That we'll have to establish. And when you look at the cost analysis of the elections, it will cost a Gambian to vote in the Gambia about $120. But for a Gambian in the diaspora to vote, it will cost something like $20,000. So we are working with partners, like we always say, election is the business of all, be it government, all the stakeholders, to come to this mighty project so that every Gambian, irrespective of where you are, you'll be able to cast your vote, and not only to cast your vote, but to be able to select or elect your representative at Parliament. We also identify another issue. That is the issue of the undocumented migrant. We know we have brothers and sisters in the diaspora who are without proper papers. And would they come out to register when the IEC is there to register them? Again, we have another legal issue that we have identified. That is, when we register them, the law requires us to do a public scrutiny. That is, to paste the list of all the registered voters in that community, wherever they are registered. We are thinking of whether this will not be a problem for Gambians, because once the data is generated and publicized, host countries, authorities of those host countries, whether they will not use these things to go and get our brothers and sisters. This is another issue we are thinking of. And again, what documents are we going to look for when we are registering Gambians? Here we say ID card, passport, birth certificate. But we also know that Gambians in the diaspora, they use consular card. So will this be accepted? So maybe subsequently I will delve into other issues. And
right. As well, thank you so much. You really, dilated on the issues very, very much. But I just wanted to talk about, I must first of all commend the IEC for submitting the paper to the CRC to make sure that even though Gambians are voting for parliamentarians, diasporans are voting for parliamentarians, they don't only vote, but they also get to be represented, as is done in other African countries, like you've made mention of Cape Verde and the likes of Algeria, and even our neighboring country, Senegal, is further as well implementing this. I don't know how far you've gone in that aspect, and what are some of the feedback you received on this particular issue?
Yes, what we do, we collect information at the moment, and before we start, we have to even demarcate the diaspora into constituencies. We are thinking of having the African constituency, the European constituency, the American constituency, and the Asian constituency. Okay. And being that we are looking at, if we have the data, the numbers of Gambians, we will be able to establish the polling station. For example, in the European constituency, whether we'll be having the Paris polling station, the London polling station, the Manchester, the Barcelona, or the Hamburg, or wherever in Europe. So right now we are trying to work with other collaborators in this project to establish the number. This is why we are calling on every diaspora, if they have enough information, genuine information, to come forward and give us this information. We want information before we start selling. This is very important for us.
Thank you so much. So we will just cut it there at the moment and just come to Madam Fatou Jan Senghor, Regional Director for Article 19 West Africa. Ma'am, you've been pretty much very involved quite an expert in civil society organizations, and so I'm sure you are aware of the role they play during elections. And as well, we're talking about diasporans voting. This becomes a collective responsibility, and the civil society also plays a very big role in making sure that what we're about to observe is indeed carried out in the best way it could be. Why is it very important for everybody to come together, all relevant stakeholders in this quest? And we also look at the resources at stake. What is it that's there at stake, looking at both sides, both resource-wise and also development-wise?
Thank you, Fatu. Good afternoon, everyone. I think this is quite an important, and the fact that diaspora was not able to vote, I think that was a big missing link, something that needs to be corrected. Gambia is transitioning from the dark past that we all know, opening up to a fully fledged democracy. And when we talk about democracy, I think participation is key. This is important in terms of the human right aspect. It is guaranteed by international standards. It is guaranteed by our own constitution. Today we are talking about the practicality. So we move from one phase to say, is it or it should not be? I think we know that it must happen. I think the question now is how. The important thing, the legality has been already assessed and asserted. Technically it's possible. The IC has done its homework. It's assessed that it is technically possible. And when you look at now the cost, it's the same when you say, what is the cost of democracy? You see, you can't talk about cost only. It has to happen. So we have to evaluate and create a kind of a balance to look at what will we gain as a country in ensuring that this key important component of the population has a stake, and indeed will be able also to participate in the choices or in the decisions of who should be running the country, but also in some instances to be able to be elected like in the other countries. A couple of things have been said about some of the fears. As I always say, I don't think that we need to reinvent the wheel. Countries have done it, smaller as Guinea-Bissau, Guinea, Conakry. Senegal has been doing it forever. I guess we can learn from them, adjust based on our reality, but I believe that this is a must, as the chairperson of the IEC mentioned this morning. Now I think we need to put our money where our interests are. We need to ensure that diaspora vote is a reality. I have some reservation in terms of the timing. When we say that if we know that election is going to be 2021, for sure, I guess. I wish you Almami and the guys. So, so if election is in 2021, it is it might be challenging if we start with Gambians in 2021. With the uncertainty that we don't know how many Gambians we have abroad, where they are, and to embark in this big, mighty project where we don't have the funding yet, and to say 2021 will be the year where we will be doing the diaspora registration. I think there are a couple of risks that we need to mitigate and to plan for. Looking at the fact that IEC has to plan for the election, we have a lot of political parties, and I think we have about 10 or more. There might be more. So I think IEC will have a lot of work in 2021. If we have to add registration of diaspora, it might be a challenge, and that could bring us setbacks. So these are the few things that I just wanted to highlight at this stage.
Yes, great insight, Madam. Thank you so much. So we hold it there and come to Mr. Badugay, who is the head of the IT unit at MRC. Those of you who don't know MRC, I believe everybody knows what MRC means, Medical Research Council. So, Mr. Gay, let's talk about what actually works best in this situation, because even though we want diasporans to exercise their constitutional right as bona fide citizens, we wouldn't want to make them go through procedures that would end up making this process a burden on them, So looking at our terrain and the way the world is going forward, you're an IT expert. Talk to us in that domain. What could be possible?
Thank you very much. I'm very much heartened by the fact that we've started thinking about how we can include the diaspora in our democratic process. It also shows inclusion of our democracy. And of course, it always reminds me during the American Revolution when the Americans were talking about no taxation without representation. So of course, if people are paying their taxes properly and also contributing towards national development, we should make all efforts to make sure that they are integrated in our democratic process. But of course, in a very prepared and structured manner. And I must say too that I also concur with the views of Mrs. Jain when she questions about the level of preparedness of the country towards this noble exercise. I think we have a very opportune moment in the fact that we don't have to reinvent the wheel, because countries like Senegal, Cape Verde, and Guinea-Bissau, like we rightly pointed out, did so. But having said that, coming to the issues of IT, I would like to point out that there are so many ways that technology can help towards process improvement. And it's very unfortunate that we are currently in the 21st century in the Gambia, and every sector that you touch in the Gambia, we just from a health forum, and one of the most besetting factors that is plaguing the health sector is the lack of data. And here we are again, we want to implement diaspora voting, and we lack data. Some say we have 90,000, some say 140,000, some say 200,000. We don't know the data. And one important aspect of elections is about its openness, its transparency, and its integrity. All the political parties must buy to the idea of diaspora voting if at all they feel that the process is fair and transparent. And we cannot assure the fairness and transparent of a process when indeed we are arguing about the numbers. So I think the first important thing to do is to build a very solid and efficient data management system which is shareable, or which all the political parties has access to, that stipulates how many diasporans do we have outside there, and how many diasporans do we have in every category of diasporans, whether you call it African diasporans, European diasporans, and US diasporans. Once this is done, and then it is verified and validated, then it should also be in a very secure and should be of high integrity. That means that the database cannot be tampered with. Because if it can be tampered with, then there are issues of integrity of the data, and therefore we cannot say it's a very fair process. So for now, I will stop here until I have a second round, and then I can talk about other issues.
Before we in fact go to the second round, because we're talking, the manner in which you're breaking it down and putting it, looks like this is going to be a very sophisticated, indeed, process. You think this is indeed going to be very feasible at this point in time we are in?
I think we are now in 2020, given that we have only 1 year to go until 2021. I'm not sure, because I'm not in the IEC, I'm not sure about the level of work that they have gone in this process. But I can only presume that, the IEC already have thought about this before, and that they have database management systems. They just need to be aware of the issues of integrity and the issues of accessibility of this database by all the political parties, and they need to make sure that they have a correct register which can be validated by all the parties concerned in this database of diasporans. And this can only be done if it is not paper-based, that is, if it is done in electronic format. Okay. I only hope so. Electronic
format, he said. All right, so we'll hold it there and move on to Mr. Bahum, who is also an expatriate as well. Mr. Bahum, everything we're talking here is a little bit it's not really an easy thing we're talking about. From everything that they've mentioned, a lot of resource, a lot of energy, a lot of effort is going to go into this. What role is the diaspora willing to put in this? What effort are you willing to put in this, and why is it so important for the diaspora at this point in time?
Thank you very much, Melosi, Fatu. I'll start with the tail end of that question.
Okay.
And say that, for instance, it is an entitlement, it's a citizenship's entitlement to be able to be part of the national decision-making process. And the diaspora had clamored over the years for inclusivity or inclusiveness, be part of that process that determines how your government is run and how your country is run. Is an important, citizenship entitlement. Of course, it's going to be a difficult process because Gambians in the diaspora live in different areas of the world. So we have seen the CRC had conducted a lot of consultation, wide-ranging consultation with Gambians across the board. So something similar to that. But perhaps a little more, a little more critical in the sense that it will involve bringing Gambians around or approaching them in a way that would allow you to collect that data and to put it in a database that, like Mr. Gay said, is secure and the full integrity of that data can be guaranteed. Cost-wise, I will come to the same conclusion that how do you quantify citizenship? Is there any means by which you can say, for instance, your citizenship is more important than my citizenship on the basis of money, of cash? And this is a question that has been, beaten to death over the year. If it's going to cost $20,000 to register one Gambian voter, that is what it costs. If it's going to cost $20 to register another Gambian voter, that is what it costs. So there is no way really of quantifying citizenship on the basis of money. So I say it is an entitlement that the Gambian have, regardless of domicile. It doesn't matter where you live. New countries, the youngest country in Africa, Southern Sudan, they managed to, their diaspora was able to vote in their last elections. Guinea-Bissau is not more endowed than the Gambia, perhaps if it does a little bit. But they were still able to vote. There is the argument that it was an international arrangement and that it was the UN and other countries that supported them. But of course, we have good friends around the world, and the goodwill of that the world has shown Gambia since this transition is one thing that has been very impressive. And we are able to capitalize on that and look for support in different areas, which I believe will come through. But I am absolutely adamant that the Gambian diaspora must vote. The question of timing that was raised by my sister here is an important one. I argued several times before that if the IEC was not ready to do it by the summer of this year, the diaspora should take it upon themselves to do it themselves. And that is because I know we have the wherewithal to do it. And also cost, we have models that we can learn from. The Senegal model apparently is one of the best in the continent. Not only does their diaspora vote, but they also have representation at the diaspora level, at the National Assembly level, from the diaspora, 15 for that matter. So the actual process of registering Gambians and allowing us to vote, but also to put up representation at the National Assembly level, only goes to create that inclusiveness that is a requirement for any democratic process, but also it allows the diasporans to take ownership, to see this as a process that they can own, and it gives them a courage and knowing that they are able to be part of that process that determines how their country is
Very
governed.
well.
So I think it's important to remember that.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bahum. And of course, I've been alerted that I have only about 15 minutes. This was supposed to be for only an hour. So what I'll do now is, my role was just to open up the discussion, but we're running out of time. So we'll take few questions and comments, maybe 3, 4 or 5. Yes? Okay. And then probably come back to the conclusion of, I have a lot of questions for Mr. Njai, unfortunately though, but we'll take few questions from you people, and then we come back to him. Yes. And please introduce yourself to us. And here.
Hello.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. My name is Dr. Abba Haidara. I'm a Gambian. My question goes to Mr. Yei, the IT expert. I think there's no system that is perfect. So to have a system that has very high integrity, non-tamperability, it's an ideal, but it's almost every electoral system is tamperable. So what we need to aim for is to ascertain the status of Gambians, especially the ones in the diaspora, because many people are not interested in disclosing their status. So that's a huge problem. Secondly, our national statistics has been changing. The demographic statistics in this country has been changing because no one really cared about the definition of a citizen. For example, if one's parents come in the Gambia and, let's say the wife delivers here, the child is not a Gambian by our books. It's called an accidental birth. So these are issues that need to be resolved at the national level. And then once our statistics are really good, then, we can talk about having an ideal data management system. But the basic collection has to be good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. And so when we give you chance to speak, please, we do that within 2 minutes, and so that whoever is being referred to can answer as fast as possible. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Yes, I agree that there is no system that is impregnable. We've had the FBI being hacked. We've heard about Google being hacked and everything. But that doesn't give you liberty to open your doors and have a very insecure system. All I'm saying is that put in security measures in to ensure the validity and the integrity of your data. You have a house, you have doors, you have a perimeter on your fence, you put there barbed wire and everything. It doesn't mean that you are safe from being, penetrated by thieves, but at least put some security measures, because that is the most responsible thing to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I hope that question has been answered, right? So I can take 2 more, and then, yes. Okay, we still on that row. Yes, on the brown. Yeah.
It's yellow.
I'm sorry, I'm colorblind, so it could be yellow.
Thank you very much. No, I just think that this is a very important conversation to have. Ask me to stand, so yes. But I'm just thinking that where the diaspora is concerned, really, technology can solve a lot of our problems. If you have a cash power meter in the Gambia, if you give your digits, it always gives you whatever you are buying. My point is that once these numbers have been generated, and the primary data really for most legally resident diaspora is already existing. All you need to do is to go and look at our passports, especially with these biometric passports. So that primary data could easily be looked at by the IEC with the help of technology and is appropriately dimensioned so that you can vote electronically. And the processes on the ground in the Gambia do not have to reflect what is happening in the diaspora. I mean, they have snow in the diaspora. We don't have snow here. So really, I think some of the difficulties we are talking about are self-generated, and in a way, they are not very progressive. I really think that such a panel should also be comprised of some of the political operators on the ground. I think that would help the buy-in that some of you have raised. But really, I think technology has made it possible for us to have diaspora voting in 2021. And it is a question only of how far are we willing to use that route to get to that destination.
Thank you so much. And in fact, we were supposed to have a cabinet minister here, but unfortunately. So, yes, I'll take two from this other side. Yes, the one in the blue shirt.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm Hadim Jah from Spotlines. I'm also a writer and a translator.
I've been told that's the last one, so we're just going to close with that. Yes. Quickly, please, yeah?
Okay, no problem. I'm sorry. Okay, my name is Hadim Jah from Spotlines. I'm a writer, also a translator. As far as we want to implement the diaspora concerning the voting, I'm asking a question. Whether is it possible to reform the electoral system of voting, to reform it to electronic system? I think that we are in a 21st century. So that's my question, if it's possible or not.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, all of you, for those wonderful interventions. I revert back to Sambu Jangjai, CEO of the Independent Electoral Commission. Just to sum everything up, everything that's been said from security, timing, resources, technological-wise, and as well, he just made mention of reforming the electoral process, right? So just putting into consideration all these things that have been said generally, what would be your last take?
Okay, thank you very much, Fatu. Everything is possible with the collective support of all the stakeholders. The good thing is there is the political will, there is the IEC will to conduct diaspora voting. We are calling on all diaspora to assist in this process. IEC doesn't own the vote. You own the vote. IEC is just facilitating. And in doing so, we need the collaboration and support of every stakeholder. This is why I brought that analysis of comparison of the figures. Because we are also funded, we are funded wholly and solely by government. Donors do support, but the support of the donors is very limited. This is why I'm trying to extend our appeal to all meaningful donors and all diaspora, everyone, to come to the assistance of the IEC in the drive to have the diaspora vote. Having said that, the timing is still good. Diaspora voting is going to be held in 2021 general elections. Remember, in this election, we'll have a presidential election, we'll have National Assembly election, we'll have the women election and the PWD election, together with the diaspora voting. The diaspora will not participate in the referendum that we earmarked to have at the end of this year. That's what I said. So the timing is, whilst we are working towards the referendum, we will also be working on the diaspora for 2021 December. So still now we have some time. On the issue of technology, we know we cannot operate now without technology. Technology will facilitate and make it easy for all our life. So any technology that is worth of using, we are exploring it to facilitate this thing. Because physically, you cannot have IEC everywhere to conduct the vote. Physically, we can't. Physically, and we are using too much of technology now, even in our own elections here, like resource management, issuing of voters, biometrics, and all those. We will always employ any meaningful and useful technology. We will also ensure that it's secured with a lot of integrity. So that is on the issue of reforming the electoral system, using electronic voting and the like. That is also something that we have to sit with all the stakeholders, especially the primary stakeholders, the political parties. I support the view of Mr. Tal. This panel should have had a politician with us and a policymaker with us. Because remember, IEC is not a law-making body. We are a law-implementing agency. We can want, but if what we want can only happen if we have the policymakers and the lawmaking people at the parliament to endorse this thing. We propose, but the parliament approve. So this is my position now. So let people know that we are not a lawmaking body. We always propose. As I speak, we have proposed a good electoral reform package after consultation with all the stakeholders, but not much is coming forward. We have not heard from them up to now. We are following up. So this is the issue. We also have our limitation. So, but we have the will. We have the will. We are prepared. We are ready. We are thinking of having the diaspora must vote. I can tell you, in those days we used to have requests from the diaspora, but today we are having demands with ultimatums from the diaspora, and this we have already taken note of it since the change of government in 2016, 2017, that the diaspora must vote. If you look at our contribution, our submission to the CRC, the electoral reform, it is key there. It is very prominent there. So I'm now calling on all the diaspora to come to the aid. If you have any idea, any information, any technology that you think can help, come forward and assist us.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sambujanjai. As it is, it looks like it's crystal clear. Come rain, come shine, 2021 December, Diaspora is also taking part in our elections. Thank you so much for making that point clear. And unfortunately, we do not have time. I see your hands. But I've been alerted. I'm pretty sure this was going to be a very interesting... Yes, it is.
The time is very small.
Yes, indeed it is. 1 hour is not just enough for a discussion like this. And I would have loved to give my panelists all to say just few words and wrap up so that we can wrap up. Do we have like 3? Okay, I've been told we don't have time to do that, but I'm sure some other time we'll do exactly that. But thank you all so much. A round of applause to all the panelists. My name is Fatele Kamaloshi, and it's been a pleasure moderating this session, and I invite Madam Nene Bojang to make an announcement. Thank you all so much.
Thank you so much. That was amazing, amazing panelists. Thank you very much, everybody. Now we're going to have a wonderful entertainment from our amazing police band until 7:15. Everybody is also, so we'll take that small break. I'm not sure whether there's coffee outside, but enjoy the music, enjoy yourselves, relax. And after 7:15, it's officially closed. This is what I had to say. Allah Baraka, Jerilen Jeff. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.